What's up, Panther Nation? Welcome to Tea Time with Teachers. Today I am here with Dr. Johnston. We are just going to get to know him. So can you introduce yourself to the people that are watching and just give us some fun facts about yourself?
Oh, fun facts. I don't know that there are many. I'm Joshua Johnston. I've been here for 10 years. I teach theater, teach musical theater, teach dual enrollment composition, and teaching as a profession. I also sponsor the Strategy Game Club because I love playing games. I like juggling. Mr. Smith and I juggle in the Teacher Talent Show every year. And I think that's probably as fun as it gets.
Okay, so how has your experience been with Lenoir City Schools?
It's good. You know, I like that we're a smaller district. I don't particularly like the idea of teaching in a big district like Knox County. I worked in Knox County for a year, and it feels like a big corporation. And I like that this is a smaller district, and you can kind of track the kids going through and feel like you're part of the process as opposed to a cog in the machine, which is how it felt in the bigger district.
All right. How, as a teacher, were you affected by COVID-19?
Holy cow, that was exhausting. Really, really exhausting. That just made me tired. I was lucky enough to be co-teaching that year with Rachel Frazier, who used to be in the history department. And so we could kind of help each other out and get each other's back. But the process of teaching online and making assignments for people to do that were quarantined, and it was just exhausting. So, some people are like, oh, I like a good challenge. I'm not one of those people. I like to do the things I know how to do, and that required a lot of new stuff that I didn't really know how to do. So I was just tired.
Yeah, absolutely. As the school theater teacher, what are some tips that you have for students who may be interested in taking your class in the future?
Well, for sure, just take it. That's the first step. Being nervous is okay. A lot of people don't take it. I'll invite people to take it. They're like, oh, I could never do that. I could never get up in front of a crowd. And if you feel that way, I think it's even more important to take. I think the class helps you get beyond that nervousness of being in front of people. I've had students say that it has helped them socially because they're not as nervous making new friends. I've heard them say that it helped them in their classes when they have to give presentations or do group work and just overall give more confidence. So if people are hesitant about it, I think you're the perfect person to come take the class. It's also just a lot of fun. And so if you get tired of sitting in a desk all day and are like, I'd like to get up and move and do something kind of goofy, then come take it. I mean, the tip is take the class.
Yeah, I know. I was super nervous whenever I first took it. I mean, I've always been interested in it. I was just afraid, I just wasn't going to like it. But then whenever I took it, yeah, you are nervous at first, but it's super fun. I do suggest it for any of you watching. Before you became a teacher, did you consider other career choices, or were you set on teaching as a living?
I have always wanted to teach. Like, there is an essay that my sister wrote when she was a senior in high school, so that would have put me in 4th grade. And it was a compare and contrast essay about her two brothers, and one of the paragraphs was about like what we want to do in the future. And even then, all I wanted to do was teach. I didn't know I wanted to do English, but I knew I wanted to teach. The other career consideration happened as I was getting closer to graduating, and I realized I'm still pretty young to start teaching. I was 21 when I graduated college, and so I thought, gosh, like an 18-year-old senior and a 21-year-old are not that far apart. So I looked for something to do to put a little distance between me and the age of the students that I would have, and that's when I joined the Air Force. So I was an officer in the Air Force for 7.5 years, and I enjoyed that, but it wasn't teaching, so I got out so that I could get back into what I really like doing.
Yeah. All right. How do you try to build relationships with your students?
A lot of times we talk about like teaching bell to bell, and so it's pretty hard to build significant relationships if from the second the bell rings you're moving and you're going until the end. So that's one of the things I like about theater is it's a little bit slower paced class, and so we get more time to hang out. There's also this aspect of collaborating, right? It's not just me telling you this is how things have to be, right? When we start to work on the show, the students bring in as much as I bring into that. And so I feel like that collaborative process is by its very nature relational, right? When you're working on a project together. But then also that's why I do the Strategy Game Club, is it gives me a chance to just sit down and play games with students, which is, I mean, that's one of the most fun things I do. I think it's pretty funny that that's part of my job. Like, I get paid to play games with students. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. How do you use technology in your classes? Do you prefer using technology or doing assignments with none?
I feel like I was born in like the wrong decade. I am, no, not the wrong decade, maybe the wrong century. I'm comfortable with computers. I use it, but I hate it. I held out as long as I could on having a smartphone. Students who have had me for a while know that it was a long time before I got rid of my little BlackBerry, and it was a long time before that I got rid of my flip phone. So I don't like technology, but the people who I teach are used to it and use it. And there's really a lot of good tools that we can use. I think the mistake is when you find a new piece of technology and just assume that'll make this lesson better just because it plugs in or just because it turns on. And so my preference is paper-based assignments, but I know that's not the student's preference all the time. So it's finding a healthy balance. Part of what's difficult about being a teacher is it isn't just about what our preferences are all the time. It's not my little kingdom here that I have, right? What we need to do in class is figure out what's going to be the best to meet students. Sometimes that's technology, sometimes that's paper. So it's, that's a good teacher hemming and hawing answer where I don't give you any concrete thing.
All right. What is your personal biggest challenge in teaching?
Man, that's hard. I think I'm pretty critical of what I do. I feel that way when we do a show. Even if I'm happy with the show, I immediately go into picking apart what needs to be different. And so I feel like teaching would be easier if I didn't care about doing it well so much, so that at the end of a lesson, you could just be like, well, that happened, and be good with it. But I think that going back and constantly revisiting what went wrong, what could have been better, and all that, and trying to fine tune it. There is some performative aspect of it. I like the stage, and that's part of what happens in a classroom, is you're trying to guide the students or the audience in the direction you want them to go, right? And that is part of what I like about it. It's the same as when you just tell a story to somebody. You're trying to guide them where they go. And in all three of those areas, I'm constantly reviewing and analyzing what happens. So sometimes I think it'd be great to just be lazy and not care, because then you could just be on autopilot for the next 20 years. But that's not really fair to the people who are in your classroom.
All right. I have one last question for you today. This one's way more, more not personal, but more like preference. As an English theater teacher, what is your favorite piece of literature media you would suggest students read, watch, or listen to?
So my go-to book before I was like teaching regularly and like had a lot of reading to do for work was Franny and Zoe by J.D. Salinger. That is, I think, a great book. I've read that more than any other book other than things I have to read professionally. We're doing The Great Gatsby in Comp 2 this semester, and I've been reminded about what a great book that is and how much I love that. So those two are kind of fighting for first place. And then if you're like, yeah, but I don't like classics, I don't want to do that sort of thing. If you haven't read Jurassic Park, you just have to read Jurassic Park. They made that into a movie to begin with, and then this massive film franchise for a reason. But what's great about the book is it gets a lot more into the like theory and science, and it's awesome.
All right. Well, thank you, Dr. Johnson, for joining us today. Thank you, Panther Nation, for watching. If you aren't subscribed, please subscribe. Go follow us on TikTok at lc.tv6. Thank you for joining us, and peace out.